Check, check, check. Oh, I should check the stream and Twitch, make sure it's correct. All right. All right, what's the name of that site? I wrote it down because I keep forgetting the name of it. Oh, Topsters, great. Topsters 3 is the games. What does this mean? Okay, cool. Okay, let me also check my recording. Make sure this is all okay. First today. Okay. I think it's working. I think we're looking all right. I should move this window. There we go. Oh, is there like a link I can share this out? Oh, share. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Pinterest? Oh, it's X, no wonder. Okay. Neat. That's pretty cool. Is everything all set? I think it is. All right, cool. And I think that's on my profile now. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, guys. Welcome, good morning. What we're going to be doing today... Well, what we're going to be doing today is listing my top 30 favorite games. Maybe not the best objectively, but sort of my favorites. And to give it a little bit of a twist, anything that came from Super EyePatchWolf's top 100 best games, or Goldbullet's recent list, or anything anybody said on Reddit, in my chats, things like that, are all banned. So I am not allowed to pick any of those. So I have lists here, I have his list here. Oh, I should get Goldbullets too. Okay. Yeah. Uh-oh. I may... Oh, wait. Yeah, it was just from his stream, so there should be a screenshot of it. Let me just grab that. It's from earlier this week, I think. Yeah, it's live. What? Was it not archived? That cannot be right. That cannot be right. Come on. There's no way. There's no way. Was it the silly stream? I don't think so. It was not. Come on. Oh, you know what? Let me fix my chat. Let me pop out this thing. I have a nominal solution for this, but it is on the other setup. Okay. Oh, it's alright. Put that over here. Yeah, and then Twitch chat's over here. Alright. Oh, whoa. Make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Nice. All right. I'll make this browser a little smaller. Yeah, sorry, it's a little blurry. I literally took a screenshot because I don't think he wrote it down anywhere. Alright, so I anticipate a couple problems with this. Because that's like 130 games minimum banned, plus what my chat and Discord said, which is probably another, you know, 12 to 16. So, let's see how this goes. As soon as I can find that Goldbullet list. Was it all a dream? I was watching that stream. Don't tell me it's gone. Don't tell me it's like unarchived somehow. How can that be? It was Goldbullet, right? My own brain gaslighting me. It was not a month ago. It was like days ago. It was like a couple days ago. It wasn't part of another stream, I don't think. Community Art Showcase. Armis collab? No. Somebody has to like screenshot it or something. Okay, so he listed his top 5 favorite Zelda games. Was it from a month ago? Am I just imagining all this? Okay. Yes, here we are. Top 30 games and other tier lists. Did this... It got private. No. No. Why? What happened? What happened? I'm at a loss why this was private. That's something. This video is private. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna go. We're just gonna be going with EyePatchWolf in my chat then. Okay. Alright, let's go. Let's go. Close this. Let's see. I have some candidates. A lot of which I think are going to be on the ban list, unfortunately. Open this directory. Okay. Oh, right. Here we go. Oh, wait. No, I did. Did I take a picture? I did take a picture, but now I feel kind of bad. Like, is there a reason it was privated? Should I not? Should I not expose the choices? I mean, almost none of the choices were going to be on my... that's not true. There's a couple that are absolutely going to be on my list. What do I do? What do I do? Okay. I will... Okay, here's what the deal is. I think every game that I would pick on Goldbullet's list is also going to be on EyePatchWolf's list. So I am just going to refer to one of them. Okay? Just in case there's something sensitive, I don't know why that video is privated. Alright? Alright, let's go. So first up... let's start from the bottom, maybe. Start from the bottom. Okay. KOF 13. It's probably my favorite KOF because it looks so good. It looks really good. It plays really good. There's only a couple of characters that I would be like, this is not balanced. Whether or not fighting games should be balanced, you could say, is like a term for some debate. You know, everybody loves Third Strike. We all love Third Strike, but its character balance is not like equal across the board, right? And you know, some developers have gone on record just saying like, yeah, it's you don't want a balanced game. You don't necessarily need a balanced game. Don't worry about it, right? And that's like a philosophical question. That it's like, do you have fun in an unbalanced game if you're picking mid tier and low tier and playing against the same sort of high tiers, or does it get really stale really quickly? You know, Third Strike, you do see a lot of consistency among picks. Even stuff like Marvel, where I think Marvel 3, there's a good deal of variation. Like, there's still a lot of tech. You know, you might think, yeah, I'm seeing Virgil, like Dark Virgil comebacks, X Factor level 3 all the time. I'm seeing Zero Loops all the time. But there's also people who put together, you know, really other, like, completely different busted teams, right? Like, you see Dap Vip playing X23, doing Dirt Nap combos, things like that. All right, we're back. Yeah, I think it's really, really good, and it has so many characters. They're all fun to play. It looks beautiful. Some part of me thinks, you know, we may never see a game this beautiful again in terms of sprite work. But I don't know. I think we also need to consider, like, the fighting game as a whole entity, right? Like, as a competitive person, maybe story mode doesn't matter that much, but there are really great fighting game story modes or bonus modes, right? Like, you have Soul Blade, right? Sort of like quest modes and stuff like that. You've got Virtua Fighter 4 Evolutions, like quest mode, amazing. Or Street Fighter Alpha 3's Dramatic Battle. You know, like, that's a super memorable experience that there's not a ton around that's like that. So I don't think this game makes the cut. And also, obviously, pretty far behind, like 14, KOF 14, 15, whatever. Like, I'm way behind the curve on that. So I also would feel bad including it there, because I'm not, you know, I feel like I'm not up to date. So I'm gonna take that off. Oh, well, actually, is this gonna have arcade games on it too? Because I wanted to put my favorite beat 'em up on here, which is Aliens vs Predator Arcade, which is it any of these? Yeah, it's this one. There we go. Yes, absolutely, Alien vs Predator. I have the arcade board for this. I played it, you know, the second that CPS2 emulation was a thing on computers, because I put a ton of quarters into it. It was so much fun to play. And then if you've ever seen Team Tochiro's stuff on YouTube, like, that is absolute, like, wild mastery. Look it up right now. Yeah, so they have, like, combo videos. They have these, like, combo videos. It's so sick. Yeah. Yeah, just like stun locking, juggles, air throw, into gun, into rethrow, like there's so much stuff in this game. You know, it's like a fighting game inside of a beat 'em up, and then all the characters play so differently. I always used to play I used to play Predator Hunter the most. But now, like, you know, I switched to Predator Warrior, and these days I play Lin Kurosawa, and then, like, all of this Major Schaefer tech I was completely unaware of. Right? Look, yeah, like, jump kick into wall bounce, into air throw, double air throw, and then yeah, and then the stuff you can do as teams is so amazing. You know, like I love tons of beat 'em ups, right? Like I love Double Dragon, I love Final Fight, I love Streets of Rage, you know, Punisher, Dungeons and Dragons, Shadow from Mystara. There's so many great ones out there, but like this is the reason this game takes it for me. Aside from, it's not just the nostalgia, though just like it does have that special place as the first game I would always like look to in the arcade, or when I was like done with fighting games and down to my last, you know, 50 cents or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, you know, let me put some time into this game, because it always felt really satisfying, you know, like plus the weapons. This guy's juggling two of the discs. Yeah, like this is so good. And I also, if you're interested at all in beat 'em ups, like, or if you know this game at all, I do recommend checking out Team Tochiro's combo videos here. And like, look, this is like 17 years ago. This was posted 17 years ago to YouTube. So this is, you know, this is ancient lore at this point. But you know, I really appreciate when you see this stuff in beat 'em ups, and this game does pop up at GDQ every so often. Like, there's some really good runs, so a lot of those speed runs are also worth watching. That's in addition to these like sort of exhibition type combo videos. Cool. Yeah. So Alien vs Predator. That's that one. I understand why people, you know, would put Streets of Rage or Final Fight up on here, but for me, this is the one. If I had to pick just one beat 'em up, I feel like that's a really good representative. So I'm a big Metroid fan. I played NES Metroid back in the day, like Metroid when it came out, and that was like a super formative experience for me, right? It's a game where it's sort of set the tone, where the game is, you know, very dark, very mysterious and brooding compared to a lot of other Nintendo games of the time. And there was a lot of grinding, right? You're grinding for health, and that's something that I didn't really understand until much later playing Bloodborne, honestly, where you have to grind for blood vials after a certain point. You're just, you know, completely wiping against a boss. Like, if you're just throwing yourself against a boss and basically feeding in the single player game, eventually you'll run out of blood vials, right? And then you have to go get blood vials, and you're like, what's the point? Like, this is boring, right? I want to be able to just try again. I just want to try the interesting part again, right? And to an extent, I understand that, especially as somebody who, you know, might have more limited free time than I used to play video games. I absolutely value when you respect the player's time, right? But there's also an element of, like, how do you create stakes? How do you create, you know, a weight to being like, I need to hit this next hit, otherwise it's going to be bad, right? There's an element of that to Bloodborne for sure, but the first game I really felt doing that is Metroid, because you have to sit there and sort of charge up your energy tank. Same thing with Mega Man, honestly. When you get E-tanks and things, you have to charge them up, sort of a painstaking, time-consuming grinding process. But what that means is when you go up to fight the boss, you might think, okay, I really need to make this count, because, you know, I spent a ton of time getting here, and so this actually matters now. It's not just a like a throwaway attempt, you know, number 98 out of 200 or something. So it does add a little bit of weight to it, a little bit of, you know, stakes. But I totally understand why in a modern context it's super annoying. It's, you know, not something you have time for. And I also go with NES Metroid because I think it plays a little bit better than Super Metroid, but Super Metroid, honestly, everything else is much better, right? The sprite work's outstanding, the music is outstanding, the level design is amazing, but I never had a Super Nintendo at the time, so my connection with Super Metroid doesn't have that nostalgia. It's not as powerful to me. But But that's why I think Zero Mission ultimately surpassed it, because it not just like, it didn't just remake the first Metroid, it sort of updated it. It added like a lot of modern quality of life changes. You get map rooms, you get save rooms, you get energy recharges. It tuned a lot of the bosses. You have mini boss encounters. You have great level design, and then it also added, you know, a little bit of a story, even though it's in the NES like Ninja Gaiden cutscene style of here's a cutscene that leaves a lot to your imagination, but it sort of adds a flavor to it. And then of course the final sequence, which at the time would have been a major spoiler, where you get to the end of the game. Oh, was a Super Zero Mission. At the time, when you get to the end of the game, or what you think is the end of the game, you beat Mother Brain, there's like a section afterwards, which is not only really different from how Metroid has been, it's really good, I think, to turn the game into a sudden stealth game, and have this horror kind of like slasher movie moment where suddenly you go from being unstoppable badass to sort of more vulnerable and you know, Ripley crawling through the air vents or whatever. Very die-hard moment, and it actually works. So yeah, I think Zero Mission is my favorite, though when I recently played Metroid Dread, I think Metroid Dread did manage to surpass it, actually. But I'm almost positive Metroid Dread is on his list here. Metroid Prime is. That's another one I would have gone through, where Metroid Prime managed to capture the spirit of Metroid. Like, it's tough now, with the benefit of hindsight, to really realize how dire we thought it was going to be when Metroid was announced as a first-person shooter game. Even as a person who loves first-person shooters, that we thought the franchise was over, like, they'd run out of ideas. This was a disaster. This was the beginning of the end, and Metroid was just going to be one we throw on the, like, the pile of forgotten and ruined franchises. And nothing was further from the truth. Like, there were 3 great Metroid Prime games. I think 1 and 2 were a little bit better than 3, but 3 also was more ambitious. It did more things. It has a bigger scope. But without question, those games are amazing. And I think they're well-deserved to be on this list. Right? There, yeah, Metroid Prime. For me, it's Zero Mission. For sure. And part of that's nostalgia, but part of that is the way they really respectfully updated one of the best NES classics of all time, which is original NES Metroid. Is Dread on here? It probably is, right? Dread has to be on this list. Right? I mean, if only this is an actual Google Doc. Is Dread not on here? Also, as a preface, there's not going to be that many JRPGs on here because I'm a big JRPG noob. And that's on me. Part of that is I had a Genesis and not a Super Nintendo. So I played a lot more platformers and a lot more action games than I played RPGs. I sort of heard about Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger. I mean, I saw a lot of people play Chrono Trigger. Especially now, people play it all the time, right? But a lot of those things were things I'd heard about rather than experienced, and my tastes are fairly mainstream when it comes to JRPGs, I feel like. A little surprised that Dread's not on here. Putting Prime above Dread? I mean, that's a matter of taste. I guess Prime does really nail atmosphere very well, so I understand that part. Great music again. Great level design. speedrunning Metroid Prime is also a blast. Low percent Metroid Prime is one of my favorite categories because there's so much in terms of shenanigans you have to do to avoid getting, you know, Spider Ball, to avoid getting Grapple Beam, all these things. You just do crazy bomb jumps and completely wild, weird, glitchy things, and it's amazing. Even aside from going to out of world or out of bounds kind of glitches, it's real fun. And I haven't looked into the remastered versions if many of those glitches are still active. I hope they are, but I do recommend that for sure. Would I put Dread on here instead of Zero Mission? No. I think Dread is a fantastic game, maybe even a better game, but it's not one of my favorites over Zero Mission, I think. Remember to hydrate, kids. Hydration. Okay, so we went through those. So the first JRPG I beat was actually Wild Arms. Wild Arms 1, which is sort of like a very charming... yeah, it's like a very charming game, right? But I don't know that I would put it up here. I think it would be mostly nostalgia to put up here. Like, I think it's outstanding. I recommend people play it. It has way more charm to it than the remake, which has a more generic kind of anime style, which I don't care for. But, you know, I haven't played it. Was it Wild Arms 4? Really? Was it Wild Arms 5? Okay, well, I guess this tells you how much I know about JRPGs. Yeah. And then the second one I beat, I'm a JRPG casual, so the second JRPG I beat, of course, was Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played the remake yet, but, you know, this was obviously a formative experience for many people in the PlayStation era, right? That you go play Final Fantasy VII for a couple hours after doing your homework, and then you'd go talk about it on the playground, talk about it during gym class. It was a cultural moment. I definitely remember one student who was like super into it, like wanted to show our CS teacher like how it looked and how it played and how cinematic it was, and it was like, huh, this is certainly not what he expected video games to be, right? So I'm gonna leave that there for now. I feel like it's going to get displaced by something else, but we'll leave that there for now. Because I think it's great, and as time went on, the things that I think are really great about it are that it's so weird. The like slap minigame and the bike combat minigame and doing squats and disguising yourself and going into Don Corneo's Honeybee Manor and all those things. It's a cinematic experience, but it's also one where you didn't know what was going to happen next, and that was something that really set it apart and still sets it apart from other JRPGs, which are really enjoyable, but maybe a little more by the numbers, right? And I certainly like a lot of those games, like Wild Arms, and a couple other ones I might put on this list. So you might be able to tell I'm picking a mix of retro and modern, because I wanna make sure games I played recently are balanced out with games I grew up with. You know, like Hitman Codename 47. That was the first Hitman game I played, and it's really rough around the edges. It's super, super, super rough, right? Oops. Can I open just this one? Yeah. So Hitman Codename 47 is a super rough game. Some of the levels are kind of small. They're ones where you kind of go in and out There's not too much branching. It feels like they were kind of almost tutorial levels. And there's other ones that are kind of bad. There's ones that are like the jungle mission really pops into mind, where it's just you have a machine gun and there's a ton of dudes in the jungle, and it looks like they were going for kind of a Predator, Commando, like Schwarzenegger action movie kind of level to split up the stealth for people who just weren't into stealth or were tired of, or, you know, just preferred the direct approach of picking 2 silver ballers and going in the front door. Which is kind of viable in this game. In other Hitman games, it's clearly not viable. But the best levels in this game were the ones like Hong Kong, I believe, where there's a big circuitous level, there's lots of ways in and out, there's so many ways to go about dispatching the target, whether you want to disguise yourself as a waiter and poison some soup, or if you want to, you know, use a suitcase with the rifle inside and do some long-range sniping, or if you want to try and do something super sneaky or super stealthy or super elaborate. And those are the best levels in this game, and I feel like they expanded on that a little bit in Hitman 2, Silent Assassin, which is a more even game. But this one's like a rough gem. Hitman 2, Silent Assassin is where most people start the series, and I don't blame them. If you want to go play retro Hitman, that's a good starting point, honestly. And this one, if you play it at all, it should be to understand where the beginnings of the series came from and how they got inspiration for the reboot, which is probably gonna go on this list instead of that one, because I think that's a really good reboot to the series. We're back. Hello? Nice. Uh-oh, probably need to recalibrate. Oh no. Alright. Immersion ruined. Enjoy. Alright. yeah, Hitman Reboot is absolutely better. It's just so clean. It does like breadcrumb you a little bit, right? You can eavesdrop people, and it has like a little mini map or like a quest marker, and that's honestly fine. It makes things a little less mysterious. It's a little less like in the original Zelda or the original Metroid, you just kind of have to do trial and error. It's a game that just doesn't give you anything. You jump in there and you have to hit your head against the wall until you find a secret. You feel really good when you find the secret, but it took you, hours to find it. And as a kid with unlimited free time, that's more appealing than as an adult who maybe doesn't want to come home from school, work, whatever, and then hit your head against a game for 4 hours straight and make no progress and not understand what you're supposed to do. And that's okay. I think there's merits to both styles of game, but I'm just at a different place in my life where it's less appealing to just be Link and then burn every single bush to try and find the secret entrance to a dungeon if there's 0 clues and 0 indications what you're supposed to do. That's, I loved Castlevania 2 as a kid, but it's also incredibly famous to be like, you have to hold the blue crystal and crouch, and then, a secret tornado will come take you to the next dungeon. That's wild, and I know that there are ROM hacks that patch the game to make it so there's a little more of a hint, but it's not much of a hint. It's like finding a Dark Souls NPC quest line. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. Yeah. So I was gonna choose Sonic Adventure, but I think that's on the list. Sonic Adventure 1, and this is not just nostalgia, though I'm pretty sure I did ask for a Dreamcast on my birthday because I had a friend who imported Sonic Adventure, and the set pieces in that game were amazing. And I didn't have an N64, and I don't mean to dump on anybody who had an N64 and was blown away by Mario 64, but I didn't. So I kind of missed that whole wave of being amazed at Mario 64 and at Ocarina of Time. So when I saw Sonic Adventure and the killer whale and running down the side of a building, those absolutely blew me away, in the same way that being an NES Mario player and seeing Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 and the speed of the Genesis kind of blew me away then. So even that many years later, to manage to recapture that kind of amazement that Sonic had, if you understand what at the time, of Genesis wowed people to be attracted to Sonic as a game, that's something that I felt that the Dreamcast version of Sonic Adventure also recaptured. Now, I'm gonna admit openly that there's more than a few times I died due to camera issues, where things just glitched out and it just went nuts and you would jump off into the abyss. That is true. That did happen. It wasn't a game where you felt like you were constantly fighting the camera, but it was a game where sometimes the reason you lost was the camera. And I'm gonna put my hands up and admit that, yes, that is true. And I understand why people hate it, but I'm not just being a hipster when I say I love Sonic Adventure 1, even though 2 is a more polished game in some ways. This is still it for me. This is still it. As a whole experience, as music and graphics and speed, level design, all of that. in retrospect, I even have some fondness for the adventure zones where you're just running around talking to NPCs and, you know, they just wanted to have a really large area. At the time, it was a little frustrating to figure out what key you needed to go to the next actual level. But, I don't know. Maybe I've mellowed out. Maybe I've seen... Maybe I'm more forgiving of that stuff. But it is definitely on this list, and I can't include it. Actually, is Hitman on this list, too? It probably is. I should have checked. I should have checked. Sonic Adventure was absolutely on here. You know what's really embarrassing is I'm just gonna like go right past it and then not remember it's on here. Oh wait, Hitman's not on here. Yeah, does anybody else pick Hitman? I saw Sonic Adventure, didn't I? I mean, it's pretty far down here, I think. Maybe the problem is I'm doing this when my brain is fried, so I'm like not able to actually do any pattern recognition and see where things are. Good thing no one's gonna clip this. I swear it's on here. There's no way it's up this high. There's no way. There's no way. It's on here. Was it all a dream? Was it all a dream? What's happening to me? What's happening? Maybe it's not on here. Oh yeah, it was on the Gold list, that's why. So do I get it? I'm not gonna put it. I'm not gonna put it. I'm not gonna put it. Nope. Okay. That is out, unfortunately. That is out, unfortunately. Okay, one game that I'm going to put on here and then probably have to take off is Hotel Dusk Last Window. And I kind of count those as one. And the reason is that I like them a lot. I like them a lot because the writing is outstanding. The mystery is fun. The characters, the art. They did like a rotoscoped sketching style for very simple animations on the DS. The music's great. It's sort of it's like half noir, but it has a lot of anime kind of heart to it, where it's just not very cynical. Like it's very hopeful. It's very friendly, even though the main character is kind of a grumpy guy. He's sort of a down on his luck, you know, ex-detective, maybe kind of private detective with a heart of gold. And then there's Hotel Dusk, and then the sequel, Last Window, which came out, I think, in Europe only, The Secret of Cape West. I would kind of recommend playing both, but they do have massive gameplay problems as adventure games. They commit a lot of cardinal sins that adventure games commit, where you're not supposed to, you know, make a missable item that makes the game unwinnable later, so you have to start over or load a much earlier save. Hotel Dusk does that. There's There's parts where you feel like they're just padding out the game. There's parts where you feel like they just want to have a really gimmicky interactive thing that use the DS touch controls that adds basically nothing to the gameplay. So all of those are negatives. And just philosophically, I question whether you can or should put a game as one of your top games if you're like, everything about this is amazing except for the gameplay. That would be like going to a movie and being like, oh, the special effects are amazing, the performances are amazing, the writing's amazing, but the directing is awful. You know, could you say that's like one of the best movies of all time? I think that's tough to do. If the director kind of fumbles the whole thing, then I think that affects the quality of how we can, you know, evaluate the movie as a whole. If the director's not doing a great job directing, because that's like what makes the movie unique, right? Compared to a stage play or you know, something else that doesn't involve the director's hand, right? So I'm gonna put that here, but I think it's gonna get replaced by something else in the end. All right, so I have yet another kind of hipstery pick, and you know, I put my hands up for. I'm not a big JRPG player, so a lot of the big JRPG hits I've kind of watched my friends play rather than played myself, like Chrono Trigger and Xenogears and even Mario RPG. A lot of games that JRPGs that people enjoy, I just haven't played. So that has vastly affected my perception, and I'll put my hands up, but I think Resonance of Fate is an absolutely underrated game. You know, I think the combat system is amazing. It does it's pretty novel, where you're doing like run and gun, slow motion, acrobatic gunplay. But it also has one thing that I think I really don't like about single player RPGs, is that a lot of random encounters feel like busy work. There's no creativity. It's just a thing that wastes a little bit of your time and a little bit of your resources on your path to clear the game. And there are games that don't. I think Final Fantasy 13 makes its encounters a little bit on the tougher side, because it is very linear and it knows you can just retry or load from a save. But one thing a lot of people cite about Dark Souls is that there's not a lot of trash encounters. There's not an encounter that's just a time waster, just busy work, something you know how to solve. Even the most basic enemy, if you mess up, it'll lead to a game over, and that's something that this game does as well. It gives you bezels, which are these resources you spend to take a turn, and if you don't kill enough enemies to recharge those bezels or build up or strategically break their armor in order to recharge those bezels, you run out of bezels and your team is basically done for. And you're in sort of emergency mode, and the enemies will absolutely just start wrecking you. So it's very much like in a game like Bloodborne or like Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, where it turns out they want you to play aggressively, they want you to play thoughtfully, and they want you to attack rather than retreat, because a lot of time the safer path is forward to attack rather than to retreat. And that's something that I thought really made it feel more novel and more unique. Aside from it's not really steampunk. I mean, I guess it's kind of steampunk. It's like a steampunk post-apocalypse where everybody's in this vertical city, and it has like a bit of class comment. I mean, not a bit. Like, it is very much a class commentary where you play as these kind of like mercenary errand runners, basically, where sometimes you're clearing out dangerous dungeons, but sometimes you're basically catering to the whims of the ultra rich, who tell you to kind of like risk your lives in order to get them some rare piece of art that struck their fancy, or something that's completely kind of meaningless, and you have kind of no choice but to do it, because that's your lot in life. And Yeah, the cutscenes are like weird too, where it's slice of life, in that you see a lot of it's like trying to piece together the story of Final Fantasy VII from cutscenes of random times in Seventh Heaven Bar. You know, like it shows like kind of a random scene out of their lives, and you sort of from that scene have to gather, you know, what their histories might be and how they feel about each other and where they're going to go forward. And it was kind of novel. It was kind of like watching an indie movie rather than something that was attempting to be a Hollywood epic. And I'm sure part of that is from budgetary concerns. They just can't have a 30-minute cutscene. But I felt like it worked pretty well with those constraints. So it's not a perfect game by any means, but it's one I will always really remember. Yeah, it's one of those ones that really stays with you, in my opinion. And again, I haven't played many of Tri-Ace's other games, but I am glad it got a remaster, because I think it absolutely deserves it, and it doesn't, you know, it would be sad for it to be stuck on PS3. I think, was it 362? It was definitely on PS3, but I'm glad it got a re-release, so you can play it on a more modern system. So I'll put that there for now, but it may absolutely get replaced with something else I like better. Hold on. There's a lot of gaps on this thing. How am I running out? I think I have a decent number left. I have a decent number left. I think it'll be alright. I think it'll be alright. Okay, I haven't put a fighting game on here. For now, this is probably going to upset some people, but I really like Guilty Gear Strive. I really like Guilty Gear Strive, and yes, it is... I'm going to have to... Okay, my first Guilty Gear was Guilty Gear on the PlayStation, on the PS1, fighting against Justice and the Giga Cheese Laser. So even though I can kind of claim OG status, I know people who really play Guilty Gear. You know, I played Guilty Gear XX Reload. But I know a lot of people are going to want me to turn in my Guilty Gear OG card because I never played Xrd, Revelator, or any of those games, unfortunately. I just missed that boat. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I was playing Marvel. I was playing Marvel at the time. I was playing Street Fighter 4 at the time. I just completely missed the boat. And then when I got back into it with Strive, I kind of appreciated how approachable it was. I appreciated the absolutely wild story mode, which felt like the craziest shonen anime in the best ways. I really appreciated that. And I think it's both a welcome home for, I think, sort of lapsed fans like me, and it's also a great entry point for people who never played Guilty Gear before. And that's sometimes what you need for the franchise, but I absolutely respect the people who are like, no, Xrd or nothing for me, because they really want that kind of complexity, you know, in their game, you know. So I'll put that here for now. It may again get moved out, but it'll be here for now. You can call me a fake Guilty Gear fan. I'll kind of take that, but come on. I used to play... Who did I used to play? I used to play Chip in Guilty Gear 1. I played Cliff. I mean, that gigantic cleaver is pretty fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff. Okay, so I legitimately was going to pick... I was gonna pick Battletoads. but an enterprising Reddit commenter. Claris Chang unfortunately banned that, so no Battletoads. I do prefer it to some of Rare's later work, honestly. Yeah, Battletoads is really good. And it's not just because it's hard, it's because the sprite works great, it feels great, and the music is outstanding. Fun with 2 players. I feel like it was a very animated, cartoony game before something like Earthworm Jim, which did make a big impression on people. But it managed to do it in an 8-bit way, which was pretty amazing. Yeah, if I had to pick, I don't know, if I picked a Rare game, it might be this one. It might be this, but again, I missed the SNES boat. My wife and a lot of other friends are super big into Donkey Kong Country, and I think those are great too. For me, it's Battletoads, but not going to be on the list, unfortunately. But I did that to myself. Those are my constraints that I decided to work with voluntarily, so I'll take those. I'll take that. NES Batman. Search Batman. Batman, that's this one. This is also that one. 1989 Batman. Yeah, it's this one. Great sprite work, great gameplay, just so amazing. It's like an NES game I can always boot up and have fun with. It's one whenever I get a new emulator, a new display, new color palette, I start it up because it looks so good. I don't know, it's just so iconic. It was a game that I rented a lot of times from Blockbuster and stuff like that. It just looks so nice. Plays nice. Well, you could argue it doesn't have a lot to do with Batman. Like, there's, you know, like what is going on in this image? It's like this dude. These like jumpy frog guys. But like, look at the sewer level. Look at the palette here. Look at the water. You know, I feel like it's sprite work that's on par with a lot of much later games. That dark aesthetic that you see in things like Ninja Gaiden and things like Vice Project Doom and all the not Ninja Warriors. What's that game called? What's that ninja game called on NES? I'm totally forgetting the name. Not Shadow Ninja. Is it? Who made that game? Oh god, who made that game? Not Sunsoft. Is it? Maybe it is. It's on Switch, it's on Nintendo Virtual Console. Or, what's it called? Nintendo Switch Online Games Ninja something. Ninja Showdown? That's not right. Shadow of the Ninja. Shadow of the Ninja certainly looks better technically in terms of sprites on screen, things like that, but I don't know. Like, Batman uses its darkness a lot better. It uses shadow a lot better. Like this thing is completely, yeah, that looks really good. That looks really good. You know what? I'd say, yeah, I mean, it's a slightly different style, right? There are stylistic choices that are different, but they both look good. So that's there for now. Did I choose it? I think it's this one. Alright. Bionic Commando is also an honorable mention. I don't know if it deserves more or less, but the original Bionic Commando, was a game my neighbors had that I was constantly borrowing from them. And I would argue it's one of the handful of NES games that are better than their arcade counterparts. There's a couple. You know, the Double Dragons, I think, are... Double Dragon 2, I guess, onwards, are better than the arcade version. Contra, in my opinion, is better than the arcade version. And Bionic Commando, in my opinion, is also better than the arcade version. Yeah, I just really love this game. It's so... The play of how the swing works is so tight. It's so crisp, and there's so many weird like little glitches and things like that that you get used to and begin to reliably depend upon. And then when they made Bionic Commando Rearmed, a lot of the gameplay depends on using those glitches and sort of abusing them and understanding how they work. So the fact that it really rewards deep understanding of its gameplay system, aside from the, not RPG, well, I guess kind of RPG elements. You have to collect items, and those items unlock new areas and things like that. So, in a sense, there's an RPG, Metroidvania kind of aspect to it too. Even though you're going into instance maps. But it's very good for that. And it didn't play like a lot of other things. It was kind of that arcade plus RPG hybrid you saw on home consoles that arcades really couldn't do. So like the Famicom Disk System Castlevania 2, or the Bionic Commando here, or the NES adaptation of Strider, which played much worse, but also had much more of a globe-trotting kind of mysterious bent to it on NES. Going to all these locations and sort of the mystery of it, of the betrayal and the major character death and all these dramatic things happening in the NES Strider. That was something I felt the NES was really good at, is taking an arcade game and then doing things you couldn't do in the arcade version at home to add a new dimension to it, rather than porting it straight like you know, you would with like a Castlevania 1 or something like that have a very arcadey feel. So I did want to mention that. There's no way that's on this list, right? There's no way. There's not a lot of NES games on here. Maybe, I don't know how old he is, but I felt like, yeah, Super Punch-Out's pretty old, but that might be the oldest game. Oh, no, it's Mega Man 2. I mean, to this, as someone who owned Mega Man 2, got Mega Man 2 for a birthday present, and played the heck out of that game, I still to this day am not sure whether I prefer 2 or 3. I have more nostalgia for 2, certainly. But that's like the thing, right? Like, my parents actually, my dad worked next to a import game store, or yeah, I think they sold imports, and there's sort of a small mom and pop game store. But what they had was they had adapters for Japanese games, and you could rent an imported NES game, and they would also rent you the adapter to play it. So once for my birthday, I assume my dad went in there and was like, hey, what would be a good birthday present for a kid who really likes Nintendo? And they're like, here have a rental for Mega Man 3, and here's an adapter, and this game's not out in the US yet, and it will absolutely blow his mind. And it did. And so you can imagine, you know, having a birthday party, having your friends come over and play a Mega Man game that wasn't out was like pretty wild. And I mean, the best part is that in a Mega Man game, you can actually, you know, just pick whichever level you want first. So it's not like we all had to bang our heads against level 1 over and over again. You know, we got to see all the different levels. We got to listen to all the awesome music, which in Mega Man 3 is as good as, if not better than Mega Man 2. So I still don't know which one I would pick. And at the time, I was kind of like, about Rush and the vehicles stuff, but I think it is pretty cool in retrospect. So I may pick that one, but I feel like there's still so many games I haven't I haven't covered yet, so we're gonna see what makes the cut. We're gonna see what makes the cut here, right? I think I also in Mega Man 4, I got that much later, and I felt like I was trying to, even back then, I feel like I was trying to recapture the magic I felt playing 2 and 3. And 4 is certainly an ambitious game, and technically it does a lot of really great things. It's just not quite as iconic. And I don't think it's bad. And people who love Mega Man 4 a lot, I totally understand, because there's so many great things about it. But even then, I feel like 2 and 3 were such heights that I, as a player, was already nostalgic for them. Even when it was just, you know, only a Mega Man 4. Oh, this one I'm gonna pick, and I think it's gonna stay. And it's probably, like, I know his Tactics is on here. FF Tactics is absolutely on here somewhere. Right? Somebody named Tactics. Oh, was it a chatter? Yeah. It was Grace. Yeah, Tactics. I understand. Tactics absolutely deserves to be on there. It is amazing. I am not good at strategy games to play it. I'm so bad at it. I've tried many times. I am not beating that game on my own, unfortunately. I am absolutely not. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am never beating that game unless I put some serious time into it. And deserves to be up there. But my favorite Tactics game has to be Valkyria Chronicles 1. It's just so good at all of it. The art style is gorgeous. You're like, you can't think of many games in the PS3 that look like this. You notice that kind of colored pencil shaded style right away. The characters grow on you, they're endearing, they have personalities. Something that people tended to encounter much later with like XCOM, the XCOM remake, that, you know, you would get attached to these characters, but unlike XCOM, they're not, you know, expendable, you know, characters that you have to get a new one. They're, you know, they matter to the story. Well, most of them do. I guess you could get the randos killed. But yeah, the music's also outstanding. The story, the way it constructs its missions and gives you more, like how satisfying it is when you get a Lancer and just like, you know, fire a Lance rocket into the weak spot of a tank and suddenly turn the whole mission around. Just parking a machine gunner like in a spot with Overwatch and completely taking out hordes of NPCs charging at the wrong angle. And, you know, the way you can speedrun the game by using a really good scout like Galicia and just running through the entire level front to back. This is the game I would absolutely come back to over and over again. It got re-released. Yeah, it did get re-released. I'm glad it got re-released. Also, there's a very good fan translation of Valkyria Chronicles 3. So I never played 4, and I've been meaning to, but 3 is massively underrated. And the story is basically you're like an A-team of people wrongly. Hang on, I'll be right back. All right, unfortunately, a bit of an issue came up that I have to deal with. I'm gonna have to end stream early. Everything's fine. It's just a food delivery issue. Okay. I'm gonna have to figure this out. Something got delivered to the wrong address, so I need to work this out so that kiddos can have some lunch. I will maybe be back. This may be a VOD that I edit together. Thanks for stopping by. Be back later, I hope. Maybe. Bye.